Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be giving you the top self-help books that actually helped me in my 20s. Like the ones that actually made me see a result, an effect. So the first book, I want to say, it does have a pretty boring looking cover, but please do not judge this book by its cover, and I'm listing it as the number 5, the first one, not because it's the worst one, but because it's probably the most foundational one, Mindset by Carol Dweck. She was a professor, I believe, or is a professor, and her students had her write this book because they wanted her to put her knowledge down on paper. I really like it because it lays out the basics of what a mindset shift is, and it gives a load of examples, easy to understand and very beginner friendly. When my husband and I read this book, he thought it was so helpful that he bought physical copies and was handing it out to our friends. Anyway, right now, I gotta run out and grab some things. Running with heels. The big kids off at school. This was a good time to talk about the number 4, how to win friends and influence people. It is a fave of mine for sure, but it's also one of those ones that everyone will tell you when you research self-help books that help. This will come up. I love the audiobook because of his voice.
How this book was written and why.
I'm gonna get out with my 4-year-old and we're gonna go for a little walk. It's a little bit windy here, but yeah, we're getting used to it. Hopefully you can hear me. My kids were all under 5 years old, under 6 years old. I was trying to find moms groups. I was homeschooling at the time, so a lot of the way that you find social interaction, you have to really take that initiative yourself. So I remember I would be joining different groups. I'd even be creating groups to hiking trails and field trip areas and just lots of different types of environments to give them the kids a wide variety of experiences. But I remember that there was a point when I became kind of exhausted, and because you meet a lot of people, you have some successes with people and some failures with people, and I started to question whether or not I was even capable of leading any groups or of being able to be helpful. I felt like I wasn't really making any real connections. I got so frustrated because it just wasn't working. I was not feeling a sense of belonging in any of the groups, and I wanted to give them everything that they needed, and I just hit this wall of frustration. I think that happens to people. We usually have to have that happen before we think of a new way to do things. But anyway, that's when I decided to listen to this book. You might find that you actually do a lot of the things in this book. It's a lot of basic stuff that a lot of people know, and I'm a pretty outgoing and friendly person, so wind! But there are certain things in there that really help take it to the next level as far as like having better leadership qualities, really considering the other person in different ways. I would always check it out, even if you are good with people and you probably do a lot of these things. It's a book that everyone should read, in my opinion. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I have had a lot more success in bringing people together, creating big groups, and having some more fun with the people that I'm with. And really making it something that serves the community and serves everyone, like making things more mutually beneficial, which in turn become more fulfilling for everyone involved. Of course, you don't have to be a parent for this book to help you. It'll help you definitely if you're socially awkward, that's for sure. Hello. Welcome to my messy room to talk about number 3, Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I'm gonna clean my room and talk to you about why this book was actually very helpful. I was at that pivotal age where it's important to think about what you should and shouldn't have in your life and what's actually helping and what's not. The biggest takeaways and the biggest point was not just to clean my room, but that like cleaning your room is a really good metaphor for like dealing with your own shit before you judge the world. I'm actually washing the blankets right now, so this bed is not gonna really have anything on it. I started to just fix my bed every morning before I did anything else, and it made me feel great. That hasn't exactly been my routine this winter, but You know, when you have like babies running around you and you feel like your life isn't together, having a clean room really helped me to feel like a little form of refreshment and energy. You know, like when you just feel like things aren't going well for you, you clean your room and, I mean, like you just fix your bed and you're like, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna go and write that email now. The day H3H3 had Jordan Peterson on their podcast was the day that I stopped watching YouTube channels like that. It was the day that I grew out of a lot of things. Because there comes a point when you think like, how much am I consuming and how much am I actually doing for the planet, you know? And reading that book during the time when I didn't really want help from my parents, I wanted to figure life out somewhat on my own and prove my competency. And I thought, you know, that odds were against me being a stay-at-home mom who hadn't finished my formal education anyway. And I thought, like, am I ever gonna get anywhere? And the truth is, yeah. Yeah, and it was because of listening to his lectures and reading his book that I actually thought it was possible, even though his main demographic is young men. I think he really helped me see the world as not so much completely out of my control, I guess. It made me not see myself as much of a victim. One of the major things, though, that I thought was helpful was like his parenting chapter. However, I will say this with a caveat, it was so stressful, though, because he'd be like, make sure you get your shit together by the time they're 7 years old or you're screwed. And I'd be like, oh no, my oldest is 6 and I don't have my shit together. And I'd be like freaking out. But you know, now that I look back on it, everything is fine and everything is better. And I did fix some things that I do think helped now. So, but I will say that like that was extremely stressful for me. But what else? There's a chapter about not being friends with people who aren't actually your friends. And I remember, and I know everyone's talking about it now on like TikTok and in Reels, but that was like the first time I really thought to myself about it. I remember he was bringing up like friends who, I don't even remember what he said, but it was like, I knew immediately the friends in my life who weren't really my friends and who weren't really happy about any successes and who weren't really, I remember I had this friend, gift giving is like the way I express love. So I had this friend that every time I would give them a gift, they would be, and it would be like, it would really be like thought out or considered. I'm not saying that you have to love the presents I give you. I'm just saying that it's not like I just put no effort into these gifts. And I remember that this friend would just be like, oh, thanks. Right when I read that chapter, like there were a couple people where I knew that these people actually probably hated me. But, you know, when you're young, you have to like learn and figure that out. And I continued to have those friendships. And like now we are not friends anymore. And it was actually really bad what ended up happening. And it turned into it was a big catastrophe in the end. And had I had listened to that intuition and that advice right when I heard Jordan Peterson talk about it, it would have saved everyone a lot of like unnecessary stress and pain. I remember I got him tickets to see, my husband and I, tickets to see Jordan Peterson like giving a lecture for his birthday, for my husband's birthday. And here's a picture, look at us being nerds. I ended up taking my youngest when she was a baby because like I wasn't gonna miss it for what I paid in the, literally when we saw him, we didn't say anything. He was like, he's so super tall too. He was like, we awkwardly like smiled and shook his hand. And he's so, what a good baby. I didn't hear the baby crying. And we're just like, thanks. And we just didn't say anything and we were so awkward. He didn't say anything because the announcer guy, who's for some reason I'm forgetting his name right now, I was like, don't go up there and tell Jordan Peterson your life story. We know you guys love him and we know he's changed your life, but you know, like there was some reason to like, so respect him and like, so like me and Brandon were both like, we were gonna tell him our life story and how he changed our lives. And then, so we just didn't. And we stood there and he looked at us, we looked at him and it was like, What a nice baby. Got the diffuser going. All clean. I swept the floor too. I think about now is a good time for an honorable mention. Girl Wash Your Face by I don't know who, and I also didn't read it, and I don't know if it's a good book, but I saw the title and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. On that like more contemporary book vein of books I like that are more modern. At number 2 on the list, we have The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I actually read it because I was curious. I had first read You Are a Badass. So I had read that, and then The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck had come up, and then my husband had read it too, and I was really interested in the audiobook version. I love the narrator on this one. My mind just goes super fast in all kinds of directions. I need to be able to focus on what's most important to focus on, and sometimes that stuff can not be so good for my health, and it can be really easy for me to get into like a slump. I have a hard time with that sometimes. This book kind of added comedy and the right level of like sarcasm and realism, mixed with like deeper wisdom and concepts. I actually feel like I should read it again. If you don't mind the offensive words, I would check that out. I'm just sitting outside here getting ready to do some of my like journaling that I try to do daily and just get some sunlight on my body, even though it's really cold right now. But it still feels good, and I can feel that seasonal sort of depressive feeling lifting almost instantly just from how much the sun's been out lately. So the number 1 book for me was actually recommended to me by Luna Nate. She has a really cool channel. You should definitely check it out. And it's called Dynamic Thought by Henry Thomas Hamblin. And I think she recommended that to me like 2 to 3 years ago. And I've gone through it over and over and over again. It was a perfect book for my journaling phase when I was like writing down all my dreams and creating more of a space for my emotions by just like having a time where like I just get away and maybe I go to nature, go on like a walk or journal or something. I began to add doing that book to that practice, and I'm actually just now about to go through it again. This is if you are like super serious about going through like reprogramming your mind in a very like scientific way. It's sort of old-fashioned, but I kind of like that about it. And you go through it and you do practices. It's pretty incredible. I saw a whole lot of movement. I was able to explore a lot, and I felt like it really supported me in my creativity in my life and just not really caring so much about what people might expect of me or if people think I'm weird, because, you know, I feel like we all need to create as humans. I think that's just part of our nature, and I think that if I can be creative just during my ordinary life and just as long as I can be my best for my family, what you want to express and whatever your dreams are, just seeing where it might take you. And it doesn't even have to be for anyone else. It's like definitely increased the quality of my life and made me more productive, mindful of the way that I think and the types of thoughts that I have and like what I focus my energy on, and get that discipline. Whatever phase you're in now is the right place for you to be in. And so that's why I'm actually excited to do it again, because every time I do it again, I'm a different person and there's new lessons to learn. And yeah, so anyway, I hope that y'all liked my list. These books really helped. I think I've read all of them more than once. I love self-help books. I like having an insight into someone's life and the things that have worked for them. And of course, not everything will work for each of us. We're all different, but it's almost like a roadmap, or like it's almost like you have cheerleaders saying like someone made it, someone did it, someone was able to see movement, and like you can try it too. After this, I'm gonna go take a bath. This is usually the time of day where like we try to have a quiet time. Thank you for kind of coming around with me, and if you resonate with the things that I say, or if you just kind of want to hang out, and chit chat about these like topics. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell. I love having conversation in the comments. It's exciting. It adds an interesting element to my day, and I get to talk to some interesting people. And I'll see you in the next video.